We'll just wait a couple minutes. Until then, hi, I'm so glad you came by. Um, I'm very excited about doing this project. My name is Holly Ferguson. I have been a trainer and behaviorist for about 20 years now. I've trained over 5,000 dogs for all kinds of things, from just being a good pet dog to a service dog. Oh, I just noticed live thing. Hi, I'm Holly, Holly Ferguson. I've been a trainer and behaviorist for about 20 years now. I have trained about 5,000 dogs in all kinds of things, from just being a good pet dog to um, dog sports like rally, conformation, agility. I've trained service dogs. We did a lot. I had a dog grooming studio, and we trained dogs who were kind of ungroomable so that they would be able to be groomed. I've worked with all kinds of dogs for behavioral issues. I love working with excited dogs, and I love working with shy dogs. I have done a lot of work with aggressive dogs, but now that I'm older, I'm not doing that anymore. My reflexes aren't the same. So today we're going to talk about a post that was made on the Aussie Training list that I'm a part of. And so that's where I'm taking my topics for these informal behavior discussions. And before we start, I want you to realize this is an informal discussion based on my experiences that I've had. I have not met the dogs that I'm talking about, so I'm just saying things in general. And as always, if you fear for your safety or your dog's safety, it's best to contact a behaviorist that can work with you, and so that you can get that immediate feedback. Also, for those on the Aussie Training list, if you would like me to address one of your posts, it's best if you can get some video of the behavior that the dog is exhibiting, and also some video with you and what you're doing, because that's more of the issue than what the dog is doing. The dog is behaving like a dog. Now we have to teach you how to react to that so that you can teach the dog how to behave in the human world. So I have my phone. That's why I keep looking down, because that's where I'll be reading the post. So let's see. It says the dog is Toby, an 8-month-old mini, not a purebred Aussie, but that's okay. I work with all dogs, not just Aussies. So let's see. So she's talking, like, she's hyper aroused. And then he jumps at people or runs and pulls the leash toward them. He attacks me and gets the zoomings when he can't say hi to someone walking in the street, wants to be the first out the door, darts out of the crate, etc. So whenever I talk about anything that has to do with training, but especially with behavior, there are two things that we're always looking at. The first is management. We want to do things that will help the dog to behave in the moment. Like, it's not necessarily long term, but the more the dog is able to exhibit these behaviors, the more often he is, the more ingrained they become. So we kind of want to put a stop to that. Before we go further, I also want to say everything I do is positive. So when I say put a stop to it, I'll say how in a little bit. It's a very positive thing to do. So, but we want to put a stop to it. We want to put them in situations where they'll be successful. That's part of management. And then from there, we want to train. So a lot of times you can't be in a training position. So let's say you have a dog that goes crazy when the doorbell rings, right? And so you can't have, let's say, somebody delivering a package that needs to be signed for, stand there while you quote unquote train your dog. Although I did have had people put signs on their doors saying dog in training, please be patient. But that's not always possible. And then of course you're not there sometimes when people come to the door. So in that case, it's not possible to train. So you want to manage it so that so that it doesn't make the dog worse. And then when you have time, then you go into training mode. And with, say, the door, I usually have people come over and, they come by and visit, and they come over and over and over and over again. Meaning they, ring the doorbell or they knock. We start out very simply, and then it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. But so we're going to talk about management, and we're going to talk about training. Some concepts that are super important when it comes to behavior is you want to reward the behaviors that you want. And what I see is a lot of people inadvertently rewarding the behaviors that they don't want. I see it all the time. We have a new apartment building. It's got to have 500 apartments in there. And I can't drive by there at the end of the day when people are walking their dogs and they come home from work, because it's just crazy. And I just want to get out of the car and go, do this, don't do that, do this, do this, do this. And you guys will be fine with your dogs, because they're aggressing towards other dogs, they're aggressing towards people, or they're super excited, they're overexcited, and they're pulling their owners over to whatever it is they want to do. I saw a great big golden retriever almost pull his very little, very petite female owner into the road. And he was just looking for a place to poop. So anyway, let's move on with the problem at hand, the issue at hand. One of the things that I see that makes management difficult when there's an overexcited dog, especially outside with other people and other dogs or whatever, cars, squirrels, I don't care, is that people give their dogs too much leash. And oftentimes they have the wrong leash on the dog. So dogs have to earn a long leash. They don't get a long leash. And a short leash doesn't mean a tight leash. Also, having a short leash doesn't make the walk any shorter for the dog. If your dog is walking 6 feet in front of you at the end of a long leash and you walk 2 blocks, they're still going to walk that 2 blocks if they're on a short leash beside you. But it gives you an opportunity to control your dog a little bit more and to keep the dog from getting that momentum to pull you over. I've had clients who have broken kneecaps, broken elbows, broken wrists before they came to me because their dogs, pulled them down the street. And when you have a short leash, the dog doesn't have that momentum, but you also have a lot more control over the dog. So let's talk about leashes. First thing is, you don't want a flat leash. Flat leashes hurt your hand. So once you put a flat leash in, it's got the edges, and you do that and the dog pulls, it just eats right into your hand. So what do? You lean towards the dog to relieve that pain and relieve that pressure. We don't want to have to do that. So I like using either a round leash like, what's it called? The slip lead. I'll remember the name eventually, sorry. Or you want a soft leather leash. So, and actually I couldn't even find a 6-foot leash back in my dog room because I think I have some in the car, but I don't really use a 6-foot leash. This is Flitzer's Rally leash, and it was specifically cut to fit where I need her leash to be while she's in the rally ring. But it's a soft leather leash. It feels very good on the hand. Same with the round leashes. So no flat leashes, because they're going to hurt you and they're going to put the dog in control more. So once you have your leash, you want to hold it correctly. And the way you hold a short leash correctly so that you're not pulling on the dog. Because if we have the leash here and the dog's head is here and our hand is like this, so the leash is going through from the thumb to the fingers, the dog can pull it out. Ouch. And that hurts. Actually, just that little bit hurt. The dog can pull it out. So, and then we have to hold tight. And once our hand is tight, and I've seen this a million times with clients, once their hands are tight, the whole arm gets tight, and suddenly you're tight from your neck all the way down to the dog's neck. And so then you end up with we don't want that with the dog. We want to be relaxed. So we're going to hold this so that it comes out our pinky. And then instead of creating this, this tube, if we have it coming out our thumb, we're creating a little crimp. So when the dog goes to pull, it's not going to pull past that crimp. Okay. And then you're going to wrap it around just one time. And then when you stand up, you're just going to relax your arm. I like to say the leash starts at the shoulder and goes down to the dog's neck. So if we're doing this, we're pulling because it's coming out. Okay. So all kinds of things are happening. If we do this, basically you have a dog purse or a dog briefcase and your arm can stay relaxed. So when you hold the leash, here's the dog's head down here. You're going to hold your pinky towards the dog, and then you're going to wrap it around once. And it's so much easier to hold. So much easier to hold. So I would say with a lot of clients who have dogs that aren't super highly aroused, that takes care of 90% of the problem. So definitely hold your leash properly. Get the proper leash. You really don't want one of those flat leashes. The nylon ones, they hurt so bad. So leash. I also like to use a slip lead, by the way, which I don't have back there in my room. I don't know. I don't use a whole lot of leashes these days except to, go to shows and things. So a slip lead would look like this without the buckle. All right. It would have a ring here. And then when you put it on the dog, when you face your dog, so it looks like a P, and you slip it over your dog's head. And the point of this is not to choke them. The point is just the opposite. All we want this to do is to keep the dog from slipping out. Because if you have a crazy wild dog and they're used to doing what you want them to do, and suddenly you start managing the situation, they're going to shake their head and try to get out of that leash. So that's why I like a slip lead, not because it's tight. Our goal is to keep it not tight, but so that if the dog does rush off, they're not going to get out. So it's for safety's sake. All right, so that's the first thing. Let me look at this again. Get the right leash, hold it properly. All right, so now you have your dog on a short leash by your side. Your arm is just relaxed. Remember, you're holding your dog purse or your dog briefcase, and your arm is just relaxed. That means when you take a step, your dog is coming with you. If your dog is 6 feet out in front of you and you go to move away, like you have to walk 6 feet before your dog comes with you. With this, your dog is going to step with you. And so that leads to my first management technique. And that is when your dog starts to get excited over something, first thing they're going to do is look. And I know everybody knows that look, right? You're walking along, there's something going on, and suddenly your dog is like forward, eyes are big. You don't even have to look at their eyes. You can see their ears kind of go forward, even if they've got button ears or whatever. I can see it on my Jack Russell Terrier. And so you're going to walk the opposite way of whatever they're interested in, happily, because remember, we're all positive here. So you're going to turn and you're going to walk away and you're going to call the dog's name and say, let's go. So for me, it'd be Flitzer, let's go. And I'm going to walk the other way. The purpose of this is to not let the behavior happen. You want to try to stop it before the behavior does happen. If the behavior does start to happen, you're still going to do it because a lot of times we miss it. And if you have an excitable dog, you're probably looking all around. Don't look at your dog. Your dog's going to give you the cue so when you need to do things. So it inhibits the behavior. And if we want to extinguish a behavior, we need to inhibit it. So that's the first thing. And you're going to walk away assertively but happy. Think kind of jaunty and lead the dog away. Say, oh, my dog's like, there's something, and you're going to say, well, let's go. And you're going to look at the thing and you're going to walk to it like you want to get there. Don't wait to see if the dog is coming. Don't worry if the dog is looking back at anything. You are leading, the dog will follow. And then you're going to say, good dog, when your dog's walking with you. Good dog. Now you have a reason to praise your dog, even reward them if you want. So that's the first step. Watch the dog. When the dog first shows some interest in something, either that forward look, the ears coming forward, or they turn their head towards something, don't even have to look to see what it is. If it's a squirrel or a cat or a ball or whatever, you don't care. You're going the other way. So also that takes the reward away. If your dog sees a person and wants to jump on that person, or sees a squirrel, wants to chase a squirrel, that action is very rewarding. How fun is that, right? a person. I get to jump on them. I love that, right? So we want to take that reward away, walk the other way, and then we can start rewarding them on our own terms. Good dog, here's a reward. Um, so, and it may be that you have to walk quite a ways. I've had some dogs who would get so excited when we started that um, we would have to walk like a block or so before they finally turned around and started walking with me. But that's fine. So the point is, the dog's not getting closer. The behavior that got him closer to the thing he wanted is now taking him further away from the thing that he wants. And he's not getting rewarded for that, but he is getting rewarded for coming with you and paying attention to you. So that brings us to the second thing that I like to do with overreactive dogs. And that is a game I call peekaboo. And that is just standing with the dog on a short leash, like I showed you, right? Just the soft leash so that if he does jump, you can walk the other way, which will bring him around. We're not going like ka-ching, where the dog is like, where you're choking the dog and bringing him around. You're just walking, and that momentum is going to bring him with you. So, which is why it's really important to notice when the dog is first excited so that you can get that momentum going sooner. But you're just going to stand there with your dog on the short leash and stand somewhere in public. And every time your dog looks at you, you're not going to say anything when he's not looking at you. You're just going to stand there quietly. When he looks at you, you're going to say, good boy, quietly, gently give him a reward. Okay, that's it. You just do that a lot. And if he does get all crazy, if he sees something, you walk the other way. Okay. But you're keeping it calm. It's not an excitable game. You're standing there. He looks at you, good boy, reward. He looks at you, good boy, reward. He sees a squirrel. Let's go. You walk the other way till he stops looking at the squirrel. Good dog. And then you stop and you wait for him to look at you again. And you do that a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, do it everywhere. Do it in the most excitable situations. And eventually what is going to happen is he's going to see that squirrel that he now knows he can't chase after, but he does know that you're going to give him a reward if he looks at you. So that squirrel suddenly becomes a cue for him to look at you. Good dog. Now, this doesn't happen in one session. It's not going to happen in 1 week. But you're going to do it like constantly. If your dog is super excitable, you're going to do this for months. So just out there on the short leash, just rewarding the dog for looking at you. Okay. So that's how we're going to get started managing that and training that. There's much more, but I can't hit everything. So, there's much more, and hopefully, we will eventually have a reactive dog class on Flambeau U. So, okay. So as far as, so she says, I've tried flirt pole sessions for impulse control, tried to use that as a tool with no luck. And she still cannot get focused with kibble. His favorite is beef liver, chicken, steak, whatever. Okay. So let's talk about the flirt pole. I love flirt poles. I use them with my dog. They're absolutely wonderful, but they create excitement. And even when you have them like sit and down so that you can flirt again, you still have an excited dog. That's great when you're teaching something for sports or hunting or something like, or even herding, I guess. Like when a dog is working, they don't necessarily have to be calm. When I leave a dog at the start line in agility and I tell them to wait, I don't expect them to be like, okay, I'll just wait for you here. I expect them to be like, I'm waiting for that okay. Like a lot of energy into that wait. And that's kind of what you get with a flirt pole or a game of tug. So we don't necessarily want it in this situation. Also, if you're trying to get your dog to give you his attention, especially with yummy treats, you're doing the work for your dog. And it's never going to teach your dog to give you his attention. That's why we go back to peekaboo. The dog learns that I have to look. No matter what else is going on, I'm the one who has to look. I'm a big proponent of not doing the dog's work for them. You want the dog to learn that they have a job to do. Their job is to look at you, your job is to reward. It works very nicely. So the more you try to get them to take a treat that they don't want because they're interested in something else, the more they're going to be interested in that something else. So just don't even worry about it. Now, when we get into training, I not only do peekaboo but I also do the name game, and I do fronts, and that teaches the dog to give me more of his attention. But at the beginning, just to stand there, and when he gives you, you can't force him. You can't force him to look at you, but I can guarantee eventually he will. It may take 20 minutes, literally, depending on the situation. You may want to start the game inside so that they realize when I look, I get a treat. So you may want to do that. But you may get out of a car, let's say at a dog park, and your dog may not look at you for 20 minutes. And then when he does, he may go like that, which I love. People are like, but he didn't look at me. I'm like, but it's a start. It's a reason for a reward. So, and then you can ask for more and more as you go along. But anyway, so let's not, oh, also food gets dogs overexcited too. And we'll talk about that in settling for a minute, in a minute. But, the more you move, the more you say, the more you offer, the more excited the dog's going to be, the more energy goes into the exercise. So with peekaboo, you take away all the energy. You are just standing there, and then the dog gives you his attention and you reward. It's a beautiful thing to see happen. Let's see what else we have. Okay, so, all right, settle. But I can't seem to get him to settle even for, okay, so this one I'm not really going to address because I'm not quite sure how she wants him to settle, under what conditions, what he does when he's bored. That makes her think she's bored. He can't seem to be bored. Okay. Well, I guess I'm not going to address that one. I should change the name of the video then, because I have to see what's going on. Like, you can get a dog to stay, which is not a settle. So I tell people stays are very active. They're not passive. So your dog, eventually they'll learn that nothing's going to happen, and they may, for a long stay, like lay down, or, lay on their side or whatever, depending on what you're training the stay for. But stays should be, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. And then the release, okay, good boy, and then the treat. So it's all a lot of energy. So settle is a whole different thing. And I would say the first place I would start that, if they haven't already, is the crate. When are you letting your dog out of the crate? Are you letting your dog out when they're standing there going, oh, she's going to open the door, she's going to open the door? Or are you letting the dog out when they're laying on their side and they're comfy and cozy? That's the first thing. Rewards happen when they're calm. So maybe Alyssa can address that in the group, and maybe I can do a separate one on settling so I can see what's happening. Also, be sure that you post any questions that you may have under the post where I put the URL. So I can see what your questions are. Maybe I can address them in the group, or maybe I can make another one. But remember, whenever you ask me a question, it's always good for me to see a video of you with the dog to see what's going on. So that is basically it. Be sure to like this video if you want to see more of them. Definitely comment. I want to hear if you tried it, if the things that you're doing, etc. Just let me know what's going on with you and your dog. Introduce yourself and your dog. I'd love to learn more about you. Subscribe, and when you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get notification of my videos. Hopefully, if this all works out, I'll be doing these several times a week. So I really appreciate you watching, and I look forward to helping you with your dog. Thanks.